In light of a number of incidents that have happened in the last few days, in the last few weeks, where for some bizarre reason we seem to have a spurt of attacks being done by people that claim to be following our faith across the world, whether it's in this country or in Australia or other places, just doesn't make any sense what's going on. If these people are Muslims and misusing and abusing Islam, we'll be the first to say they have nothing to do with our faith, and it is misguided, and it is something that is completely wrong. But then somebody like me has to go on, because I am perplexed at the sheer quantity of these types of attacks taking place out of nowhere, and the resurrection of an entity, the Islamic State, that we thought is long gone. It just doesn't seem normal. Today we're going to mention one of the most well-documented cases in recent history of something that is called a false flag attack. I am not claiming that what is happening in the last few weeks are false flags. I'm simply saying we know for a fact, and today we're going to mention one of the most well-documented, one of the most certified, and then I'm just going to say you should be aware. That's all. Isn't that fair? So please, online, don't accuse me of conspiracy theories or crazed or whatnot. These are facts. If these facts were proven in the past, we should be extra vigilant about today. Firstly, what is a false flag? A false flag operation is an operation that is done by one group pretending to be another. And it is typically done against the group itself, so that publicity and PR and perception is changed. And people's sympathies change because the perception is, oh, these are poor people, they were killed, they were attacked, they were bombed by those crazy radicals. We need to do something about those crazy radicals. And it turns out it wasn't the crazy radicals, it was the people who are telling you to be worried about the crazy radicals. Now, when you say this generally, people say, oh, you're conspiracy theorists. But this is people who have never studied history. We know many documented cases that are now verified in the last century, forget in this history, that are done by governments against their own governments or by governments against their allies in order for the public to be sold a lie. And 2 or 3 that you should look up, not today's topic and not related to today's topic. Look up Operation Ajax in Iran's history, and how the only democratically elected president of Iran was overthrown by the direct commands of this government, our government, by the CIA. They engineered a coup to overthrow the democratically elected president of Iran, to put in a dictator. And for the next 20 years, the anger against that dictator was also the anger against this country. And the anger that the people had, I'm not justifying it, but that anger that they had was a reason for it. And when the Iran hostage crisis took place, I'm not justifying it. That anger is not coming out of thin air. That's all I'm saying. Look up Operation Ajax. Look up as well other Kristallnacht that was done in Germany, Nazi Germany, where they blamed the Jewish people. In all likelihood, the Nazis themselves did it because they wanted to blame the Jewish people. This is something, again, look up World War II. But today, we're going to do something that is relatively recent, 1950s. And it is called the Lavon Affair, Lavon, the Lavon Affair. So in order to understand what this is, brief context, what's happening in the 50s? Of course, the country of Israel is formed in 1948. And the country of Israel is a very new fledgling country. And around the same time, Egypt is freeing itself from the King Farouk. And Gamal Abdel Nasser in the early 50s is coming to power. And Gamal Abdel Nasser is pushing a very anti-colonial, a very nationalist stance where he wants Egypt to be independent. And the big issue right here was Israel's alliance with the US, with England, with other powers. Right now, Israel is a new country. And America does not have the strength of ties that it does have right now. This is new. And Egypt was also a new country in terms of Gamal Abdel Nasser. So the background is Israel is worried that Egypt and America and Egypt and England might form good ties and they're going to be left out. Understood? Israel is worried that we are new, and what if the superpowers form strong ties with Egypt? What's going to happen to us? So what did they do? At the time frame, the Suez Canal, which is one of the most important, naval canals in the world, the Suez Canal was under the control of the British, right? Now Egypt has taken back partially, and back then it was under the control of the British. And the Western powers needed the Suez Canal. So Israel thought, what if we create the perception that Egypt is an unstable country? They cannot control their own radicals. They need us to be the superpower in the region. So we will destabilize the PR of Egypt. This is going to terrify America and England and France, and they're going to realize we cannot trust Gamal Abdel Nasser, we cannot trust Egypt, we have to trust the neighbors, which is Israel. So what was done? In 1954, the Israeli intelligence known as Mossad, which is the equivalent of the CIA, the Israeli intelligence decided, and this is now, as I said, everything I say is now documented. This is not conspiracy, and Israel has of recent acknowledged that they did this. That's the key point. I'm not saying anything that they don't acknowledge. Now they acknowledge it. In 1954, they said, let us create a series of terrorist attacks in Egypt and blame the Muslim Brotherhood. It's nothing new, guys. And also, because this is the 50s, in America, what was the big bogeyman in the 1950s? Which means which party? The Communist Party. So, Israel said, let us say the communists. What did the communists have to do with Egypt? The communists and the Muslim Brotherhood are coming together. Fear-mongering. How ludicrous that the communists and the Muslim Brotherhood are going to, come together. Just like 25 years ago, the Ba'athist Saddam Hussein and Al-Qaeda are working together. Like, you have to have zero knowledge of reality to put these two together, right? But that's the reality, tried and tested method, right? The communists, what have they got to do with the Muslim Brotherhood? What has it? But no. So because 50s, who's heard of the Muslim Brotherhood back then? There's the Muslim Brotherhood, the bells of warning, whatnot. And you have the Communist Party. So Israel says, let us undertake a series of terrorist bombings on Egyptian soil and blame the Muslim radicals and blame the communists, so that America thinks we cannot trust Egypt. They cannot even control their own backyard. We have to trust Israel instead of Egypt. And so they had a cell of Egyptian Jewish folks. Pause here. Egypt was always the home to many tens of thousands of Jewish people since the time of the expulsion in Grenada. Muslim lands had always welcomed people of Jewish background in Tunisia, in Algeria, in Morocco, in Libya, in Egypt, in Iraq. Tens of thousands of Jewish people resided peacefully. No problems, no nothing. In Palestine, there were Jewish people living with peace, no problem, because we welcomed anybody who wants to come Ahl Kitab. So Egypt had 70,000 Jewish people, I think, before World War I. By the time World War II happens, it's down to around 40,000. Still 40,000, that's not a small number. There were amongst them spies working for Mossad. And again, this is understandable. That is going to happen. You're going to have divided loyalties. And so some of the Egyptian Jewish people became spies for Mossad. They were trained and they were sent back to be sleeper cells, which is, again, every country does it to every country. I'm not trying to drum up any other conspiratorial theories here. So Mossad contacted this group and they said, okay, we're going to target American targets on Egyptian soil. This is Israel. We're going to target American cultural buildings, American libraries. We're going to target generic buildings like post offices, like the cinema. And we're going to put bombs there. And we're going to say, who did it? Radicals, Muslim Brotherhood. They did it. And that's exactly what happened. In 1954, a series of bombs went off in Alexandria, the main postal service; in Cairo, the U.S. Information Library; in Alexandria, the U.S. Agency Library; in British-owned cinemas and theaters and coffee houses. Small little bombs. These were people building bombs at home. They didn't have massive bombs. So small bombs, but still bombs. It's terrorist attack taking place here and there. And who taught them how to make the bombs? Mossad. Who's supplying them? Mossad. Who's telling them? All of this is Mossad. What happened was, on the 14th of July, one of the people who was going to target a very large theater in Cairo, the Rio Theater in Cairo, his name is Philip Nathan's son, that he was walking to place the bomb in the theater, and whatever happened, the bomb accidentally went off in his pocket, blew his thigh off, right? As he's walking to the theater, the bomb goes off early. So obviously, the police come, they arrest him, and what unfolds is one of the biggest scandals in Israeli history at the time. Because now he's caught. There's no Muslim Brotherhood, there's no communists. You are clearly a planted agent. You are clearly coming from a foreign country, and he has to confess with a whole series of names, many of them local Egyptian people of a Jewish background, and many of them Israeli, Mossad spies. He has to confess all. And so over 15 people are arrested. I don't want to go into all the detail over there. 3 of them, I think, committed suicide in jail. 3 of them just literally before the attempt. 3 of them, I think, were executed. Don't quote me on the numbers, but the trial took place, and I think 10 or something were given very long sentences, each one according to their crime and whatnot. And Egypt made a big issue. We have a Mossad sleeper cell, and this is what they tried to do, and the trials were publicized. Israel had a blackout of the news coverage of this entire episode. Israeli people did not know about this for decades. Back then, you could control the media. There's no internet, whatnot. And they issued denial after denial. They accused Egypt of trying to cover up radical Muslims and be anti-Semitic. The same charge over and over again. This is official. You can read this. Israel accused Egypt of being anti-Semitic. Why? Because you're saying that Jewish people did the bomb. This is anti-Semitism. This is a libel, blood libel, the same thing. There's some blood libel. How dare you say that, we did this. And they kept on denying, and Egypt kept on trying to prove. This trial became extremely famous. You find New York Times articles about it. You can still see this. And it resulted in many things. First and foremost, I'm not saying this is right. It is what it is. It happened. There was a massive backlash against the Jewish population in Egypt. Then everybody started thinking, oh, so you're actually a spy. Because it turned out 15 spies were actually uncovered. And subhanAllah, this is the irony. They think these tactics help the Jewish people. It ended up causing the largest mass migration of people from Egypt into Israel, the Jewish population. They were living there till 1956. Even Israel is created, and Jewish Egyptians are saying, I'd rather stay here than go to Egypt. More than half of them remained in Egypt because of this incident and the backlash. There are people angry, street accostations, mobs coming. It is understandable. I'm not condoning. It's reality. I think 18,000 people of an Egyptian Jewish background, they had to leave. Volunteer means they had to we don't want to be here anymore, and they left Egypt. Currently, Egypt has, last I checked, a grand total of, I'm not making this up, this is what the statistics say, 10 Jewish Egyptians left in the whole country. 10 out of 80,000. And the 2 main catalysts, 1948, the creation of Israel, 1956, the Lavon Affair. Okay? And for the next 30 years, people continue to deny this. Why is it called the Lavon Affair? Because the Minister of Defense, his name was Pinhas Lavon, the Minister of Defense was blamed internally by the government, and he kept on denying, this didn't come from me, it came from higher up. Who's higher up? The Prime Minister, David Ben-Gurion. He kept on saying, this is not from me. I didn't even know about this. You can't. But Ben-Gurion kept on internally saying, you're the guy, you're the guy. He had to resign. And that's why it's called the Lavon Affair. Until the day he died, he kept on saying, I didn't even know about this. This is coming from above. And it bypassed me and it went straight to Mossad, and I'm being asked to be the guinea pig over here. So that's why it's called the Lavon Affair. Ben Gurion successfully blamed it on Lavon, and he actually got rid of him, and he made this as a way to come back and become prime minister all over again. For 55 years, Israel continued to deny, until finally in 2005, when one of the last remaining people who was involved in this incident died, he was given a state ceremony, and the Prime Minister of Israel at the time finally acknowledged that this person had done a massive service for the community. The only service he was known to do, he was one of those put in trial on the Lavon Affair. He was one of those that was put on trial. He stayed his time. He was then prisoner swap. Israel swapped him out in 64, something like that. Literally got him back, freed him. Then he died whenever he died. And the prime minister or the president attended his funeral and said he actually did a great service. He was our agent, whatever. He was given state ceremonial. And this was official acknowledgement that the Lavon Affair was something that was actually ordered by Mossad and by Israel. So to summarize then, and then points and food for thought, the Lavon Affair is one of the best documented false flag covert operations, and we now actually have the official Mossad documents, because after 50 years or so, governments just release tons of paperwork and whatever. So Israel has actually released to its researchers, and a number of Israeli academics have gone and found it, and there are plenty of books in English. You can find it on Wikipedia, you can find this on Amazon. This is well documented. The Israeli files themselves talk about it, and the Prime Minister himself admitted this guy was our agent. But what it exposes is a reality we all know. It's not just conspiracy, which is this entity has at multiple times bombed Americans, British, Canadian targets, bombed Western targets, and blamed who? This is a historical fact. They have themselves bombed Western targets and then said, oh, these are radical Muslims. And ironically, the Muslim Brotherhood, and I say this as somebody I've never been a member of, and I am not a member of today, to this day. I'm just giving you facts and factual, that this name of this entity back then and to this day is the same entity that they are saying. And it also shows you the unscrupulousness. Like, these are innocent people that are dying. You're going to throw a bomb off. This is a post office. This is a theater. If I'm not mistaken, in this particular incident, the bombs were so small, there were injuries. But that's back then. Now, we know bombs are bigger and bigger, right? You have no qualms in killing innocent people and then blaming another group of innocent people in order to, what? Just for PR. Just for PR. This is a tried and tested tactic, and this is the one that is the most verifiable here in this country. 25 years ago, an incident happened that we're still scratching our heads at, and we're still not certain how it happened, and how did an entire building 200 feet away just fall out of nowhere, and how the only still on and on, we keep on wondering. And at the same time, number of people from that country were arrested as spies, well known, well documented. These are all questions we need to now be brave enough to research and ask. That's all. We're not crazy conspiracy theorists, but we just wonder what is going on. And 3 days ago, some crazed guy never heard of, never even on any radar, all of a sudden he goes berserk and kills a bunch of innocent people in a faraway land, resurrecting a name of an entity that is long gone. And you just wonder, what is this? Why is this happening? And it does conveniently fit a narrative, and it does conveniently help. As the saying goes, who does it benefit? Every detective, when they start looking at who does it benefit, that's all we are asking. And I conclude by stating, if these people are actual radicals and Muslims misunderstanding what Islam is, without a doubt, we wash our hands of them, say they have nothing to do with us. But We have the right to question. We have the right to push back. We have the right to simply demand a fair investigation, a fair and balanced investigation. These people that did it, they have family, they have friends. Contact them. They have bank accounts. Find out. We want to see. We want to see, was there massive amounts of money coming in, things happening? What is going on? Did their families see this radicalization? And if they are radicals, wallahi, we will understand, because we know there are radicals amongst us and amongst every group. I'll be the first to say that. We have crazies, they have crazies. If it turns out these are actual crazy people, jihadists, they're whatnot, we will be the first to say, nothing to do with us. But it just seems very strange for people that have no background, that were not involved in any movement, and then to have this type of thing. So in the end, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect all of us from false flag operations. We ask Allah azza wa jalla that we have cutting edge journalism, investigative journalism. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless the ummah with positive PR. Wa jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum.